What's up guys, I'm Jesse from Walden the Maker, and today we are building my son a new bed, library, and desk, all in one. Let's get to it. So this video is sponsored by Delta. Today I am using my Delta Cruiser. It's a 12-inch compound sliding miter saw, and also my 36-5152, which is a 52-inch rip contractor saw. I absolutely love them. I use them on every project. Make sure you check out deltamachinery.com for their full lineup of tools. Now, this is the first project that my son's really been super in-depth building with me as we go through the entire build. First of all, he was so excited because it's his bed. So we started by going to Home Depot, grabbing a ton of lumber, some 2x4s, some common board pine, which are 3/4 inch, and also some 4x4s for the legs that are made out of cedar. So I made the complete design on a 3D model that we're going off of. So we already had all the cuts that we knew. We knew the exact measurements on every single cut, which made life really easy on the Cruiser. Now, I taught my son how to use the miter saw. The whole time we were doing it, I had my hand on the control. I had him pull the safety and I held the trigger, and I had one hand behind his back the whole time. We got all the pieces cut. It was really fun for him to use a powerful saw like that, and also learn a little bit on how to measure each piece and where to put the shadow line on which side of the line and make sure that they're all accurately cut. So after we cut the pieces, it was time to start assembling. On one side of the bed, there will be a wall. This wall will be two 2x4s, two 4x4s, and two pieces of plywood. Now on one side, it'll have the bookshelves for the library that'll be underneath the bed, and the other side will be for the desk that will be for, where he can do his homework and draw and read and write and all that stuff. After the frame was all assembled, we threw down the pieces of plywood. Instead of measuring and cutting and throwing them down on my table saw, I actually used a plunge router and cut them all so they were perfect on both sides. We only used 1/8 inch sheet of plywood, really thin, because we knew every single shelf was just going to be drilled right into the studs. So really that plywood's not doing much. It's just for looks and to be painted anyway. Once that was done, it's time to take the cedar posts and sand them down. Now these are kind of rough sawn, so it took a little bit of time, but it was nice having my son do all the sanding because I absolutely hate sanding. And it was a lot of fun to teach him how to use the sander, and he really enjoyed it. After the cedar posts were sanded, we put a pre-stain on it. We put a Varathane stain on it, a water-based stain, and let those dry. Once that was done, we added some poly and they were finished. We also went through and painted the wall the navy blue. This entire project is going to be a colonial maple, which is kind of a reddish hewn stain, and a navy blue paint for the entire build. After those were done, it was time to pocket hole all the middle bed supports. This is where his mattress will be laying. We'll have a piece of plywood on top of this and then his mattress. And so we took all these 2x4s and pocket holed them with my Kreg Jig Foreman. Jackson really liked this. It's a lot of fun. It's a fun tool to use. It's super simple and really safe for any age group. And so walking him through that was a blast. So we took those pieces that we just finished up into his room and started assembling. We were assembling the supports by the window that will be connected with some 2x4s and pocket holes to the wall that we built. We laid down the pieces on the floor, pocket holed those together, stood the one side up, stood the other side up with a little help from some clamps, my wife holding it in place, and Jack helping hold it. It came together pretty easy. Then we started going through and adding all the bed supports that are going width-wise instead of length. We added all those in, with each support having 4 pocket holes. Now, if you see in the build, there's 3 4x4s, 2 by the window, and then 1 that is kind of floating in the middle, and that one is for the ladder. So between that and the wall, we'll have some supports that we'll be building real soon and putting those in for the ladder for him to climb up. So we took some pine 1x4s, we cut them down to about 13 inches spacing, and we cut 6 of them. We took them over to the pocket holed them, and then we stained and put some poly on them. We then took the level, started from the top, and measured the gap that we needed for all the way down so they'd all look even, and screwed them all into place. So next step is cutting some 1/2-inch ply. We cut it with our circular saw, and then went and finished it off on our Delta table saw. The Delta table saw cut it real smooth, and it was real easy process. This 1/2-inch ply will be the shelving that will hold all the books, so in the library underneath. And it will also be behind the ladder. So there'll be about a 4-inch gap behind the ladder, or a 3-inch gap around behind the ladder, and we didn't want it just to be see-through because then you'd see all the books. And so I added this piece of plywood, screwed it all into place, and it made it look a lot better from the outside, so you don't just see random books underneath and kind of look messy. It made it look really, really clean. We also took some 1x6s and 1x5s and custom trim pieces all around, so that way you don't just see 2x4s. We wanted a more finished look, and these just made it round out everything a lot better. We also cut some supports for up by the mattress, so that way he won't roll off and the mattress won't come out. And so we added those along the window side and along the front side between the ladder and the window support. We also added a trim on top of the wall. We just did a 1/2-inch ply because I had so much extra. I just cut a 1/2-inch ply, painted it blue, and nailed it in place with my brad nailer. We added a 1/2-inch piece of ply to the top of the bed. Now this is where the mattress will sit. It'll also make it so underneath you don't just see the mattress, that you see a solid blue piece of plywood. So we painted that on both sides too, and it really made it look good underneath and not just like half finished. So I'm really glad that we went through and did that extra step, even though we probably didn't need it. We went through and cut all the pieces for the shelving. There's 3 shelves on the inside. It'll be an L shape, so there's some hung against the wall and hung, that we built, and some hung on the studs of the actual wall in his room. This creates the L shape that we wanted and added a ton of space because my son is a huge reader. Jack loves to read, and we needed more space. We had a small bookcase in there, and now this is going to solve all those issues of just books being piled up on the floor. We bought these brackets from Home Depot too. They're very simple to do. We measured and marked exactly where all of them needed to go, where the studs were, and I used a level throughout the entire thing to make sure that it was all of it was level with each other, and making sure it was level with the wall shelves along with the drywall, or in his room, those shelves as well, make sure they were all even so they looked seamless. Now for his desk, it is also a 1/2-inch ply. I will definitely be adding some trim to this so it looks a little thicker and kind of hides more of those brackets. But this is about 16 inches wide, so it's not a huge desk, but is big enough for him to do his homework in. I also added 2 shelves above it, which were made out of hardwood oak plywood that I had, and it's a white oak, and I stained it to match the rest of the stained wood, and it turned out really cool looking and added a little bit more character. Lastly, I went through and added some LED lights. These LED lights were super simple to do. They had easy connection things. You could cut them to whatever length you wanted and then add connection and run them around. So I added them all to the shelving so he could see all his books. He has a little remote. He just clicks the remote on, all his books light up. I also added it to the back of the trim piece on the front, so that way it lights up the entire area. So when he's reading and he needs some light, he can just hit the button and the whole thing lights up. He loves it. He loves that he can have control over it. Plus it has different temperatures, and overall it was really easy to do. Didn't cost us very much, and I think it's a really cool feature. Lastly, I wanted somewhere he could read, and we went back and forth if we wanted to just get him a chair or you know, a bean bag, but we ended up going with a swing. So I added this swing, got off Amazon for 50 bucks or $50 or $60, and put it together, and we attached it to the top. We have a swing in our backyard that they use all the time, and he reads out there. So this is kind of the same thing. We added a pillow, a blanket, and he just chills on there. And every night I come in and he is reading on that thing. So it was a really good call, and it added just a little bit more to the bed. He already loves this so much. I'm really happy with the build. It was really fun building with him, which was the first time. He is turning 8 years old. So for me and him to have this first build together, and it was something that he gets to enjoy, is a lot of fun because he was excited about it, and he wanted to come out and build, you know, and every day he was asking me when we were going to go out to the shop, which was really cool. Thank you, Delta, for sponsoring this video. Make sure you check them out, check out their website, follow them on social media, make sure you follow me on social media, and subscribe below. It costs you nothing to hit subscribe. Check out my other videos, and I will see you guys next time.